What is up, everyone? It is Dr. Zora helping cure you from being a noob. Today's video is going to go over the tips and tricks that I use to solo queue my way to Immortal in Valorant. I started off at gold 3 actually, and through using these tips I quickly climbed my way through solo queue and ended up at Immortal 1, and you guys can do the same. From my experience, I actually found it easier to rank up through solo queue than to actually queue up with other people to play, and I'll go over why this is the case and what I did to increase my success when playing alone. If this video helps you out, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what's your current rank right now. I'm curious to see where you guys are at, and with that being said, let's jump right into it. First up, right off the bat, the biggest thing I worked on to help myself rank up to Immortal is aim. This is something that I consistently worked on. I played Counter-Strike before, but it's been years since then, and my aim was definitely very rusty and I needed to make it better. In order to do that, I created a very simple aim routine to help me warm up before every game. I didn't do anything fancy, but what I use is a physiological concept known as progressive overload. This term is more used when trying to work out at the gym, but to use it for Valorant terms, I made sure that I always challenge myself to aim better each day. The first step to doing this is to identify what I needed to work on. For example, I started to feel uncomfortable with my new mouse and sensitivity, so what I did to work on this is I went onto Aimlabs and started working on Gridshot to really train myself to know exactly how my sensitivity works and how much I need to move my mouse for each shot. I started the session off aiming at a very comfortable pace, going for quality over quantity, and from there I pushed myself to aim faster and faster and to get a newer high score each day. The second part is very important to improving. You won't get better by just going comfortably each time. You need to challenge yourself to aim better and better, and sometimes you will get lower scores as a result, but it's training yourself to eventually be able to aim at that pace. I made sure that I trained this way and worked on improving my score on Gridshot every single week, and after starting with an initial score of 50,000, I was able to bump myself up to 85,000 and felt much more comfortable with my aim. And this is what progressive overload is all about, pushing yourself to aim quicker and more accurately to improve. Similarly, the second main way that I trained my aim was by going into the training range. Initially, I found medium mode to be pretty challenging, and I was only able to get a score of around 22 each time I did it. I continued with medium mode to try to get higher scores, but I also made sure that I spent a good amount of time on hard mode. This so that I could start adapting and getting used to flicking faster, and by adding this in, I started to get used to it, and the medium mode started to feel like slow mode. I can get around 27 now on medium mode and 15 to 20 on hard mode, when I originally could barely hit a single shot on hard mode. Main point being, make sure that you're challenging yourself and giving yourself aim tasks that are more difficult than you're used to actually get better. With aim out of the way, let's get into some of the bigger picture tips that I use to solo queue my way to Immortal, but make sure that you guys are liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and leaving those comments down below on your current rank. What I first decided to do to climb the ranks was pick 2 agents to main, and I got really good at playing those 2 agents. It's very difficult to be a player that can fully utilize every single agent, so instead you want to pick just a couple that you really like and feel comfortable playing, and continue using those agents and improving on those agents. For me, these 2 agents were Sage and Brimstone. Now some of you may be wondering, why didn't I pick duelists to frag out and win out? And the main reason for that is simply because everyone else picked them. The duelists are extremely popular and most players don't know how to play anything else. Because of this, I'd rather give away the duelist position than for players to play something that they aren't comfortable with. Not only that, but I actually found the duelists to be harder to rank up at the higher ranks. They're great for grabbing frags, but terrible for defending a site or attacking a site without support from your teammates. It was very hard for me to go into a site without knowing if my team was going to put up sage walls, flashes, or smokes to block off choke points, and I found myself getting hit by multiple crossfires because I didn't feel my team used enough utility to properly defend or to attack a site. So what I do, you might ask? I took things into my own hands, and I first chose Sage as one of my main agents to really be able to properly defend a site with their slow orbs and walls. Not only that, but I could also be a potential entry fragger with Sage and carry my team by engaging an enemy first and then using the heal on myself to allow myself to be ready to challenge more and more enemies and tighten up the defense or open up a site for offense. It's a selfish way to play Sage, but sometimes this is what you need to do to better carry your team. So essentially I transitioned from a support sage to aggressive sage if the team needed me to do so. I then chose Brimstone as my other main because of his smokes. Like I mentioned earlier, it was very frustrating trying to take a site without knowing if smokes were going to go down, so I took that into my own hands again and threw those smokes myself. I found these to be much more useful than duelist abilities that are more helpful for me individually, but these smokes help the whole team overall and increase our success of winning rounds on the attacker side. Likewise, I was really able to stall attackers on Brimstone's abilities. With good game sense and listening to sound, I would wait until I heard enemies about to come up to use my smokes, and by doing so I was able to run the clock down until the last couple of seconds, which put the attackers in a very rough situation with little time to push onto the site, and when they did push, bam, I'd hit them with a Molotov and was able to create a defense that was very strong. These were the two agents that I felt most comfortable with and felt I can make the most impact on. So for you, find those agents that you feel best with and practice and use those to climb the ranks in Valorant. Next up, what I use to solo queue in Immortal is communication. I know a lot of players at the lower ranks complain that their team doesn't talk. It happens. Some people don't want to talk, or they don't have a mic, or they have a mic but don't know what to say that'd be helpful for the team. But that doesn't mean that you should remain quiet though. If the team was quiet, I take initiative and call the shots for my team. If I wanted to hit A, I told my team I wanted to hit A. If I wanted to smoke or flash prior to the site, I'd tell my team to do so and I'd ping it to make it easier for them to understand what I wanted. With this, I was able to get a much more coordinated play out of my team, and this gave us so much more successful rounds and thus more wins to rank up to Immortal in Valorant. Along with that, I also made sure to make calls when I could on enemy positions. If I hear an enemy team rushing, I'd call it out and also would up my tone to make sure the team understood the urgency of the call and that they need to rotate quickly. If I got eliminated, I gathered as much information as I could and would then relay that to my team as well. So overall, communication is one of the biggest keys in solo queue, and it greatly improves team play versus playing completely quiet, where you'll find yourself struggling to string rounds together or any rounds at all. This goes right along with communication, but I made sure to stay positive throughout my journey in solo queue. This meant trusting my teammates and hyping them up whenever we made a good play, and also keeping morale up even if we lost a round. Mental game is a huge part in any sport, and Valorant is no different. If the team is down, everyone will play worse. Momentum can really allow teams to run away with games, and this goes both ways for you and the enemy team. If I'm winning multiple rounds, I made sure to give a positive statement to my team. A simple "let's go boys" or "you guys are insane, great round guys" can keep things going and allow you to easily sweep through and win a game. Even if my teammates get a pick on an enemy, I'd make sure to compliment them to keep everyone motivated. If we lost a round, I'd still try to keep things positive, telling my team, "nice try man, we're gonna get them next round, let's go boys," for example, so that the morale stays high. Once your mental game drops, you start to feel negative and don't feel like you can win the game or win the aim duels. When this happens, it's a lot more likely that this will actually be the case, and you'll be struggling to win your games and rank up if you yourself don't think that you can. The fifth tip that I use to solo queue to Immortal is trusting my teammates. Now I know for most people, solo queue is dreadful. You don't know what teammates you're going to end up getting, and it can be easy to fall into the trap of thinking that you're better than your teammates and that your teammates are bad and going to weigh you down, and that I'd be a much higher rank if it wasn't for my teammates. What I say to that is, quiet down, fool. Sometimes you get handed the dirt in life, and you know what? You gotta pick up that dirt and throw it back at them. There will be times when your teammates are good, and there will be times where you have the underperformer or bad teammate. But if you run into these players, it doesn't help if you flame that player, which will lower their morale or get them mad, which will make them play even worse. Likewise, if you do deserve to be a higher rank, having one bad player shouldn't be an issue, as you should be good enough to make up for it. Even if your teammates are doing bad, I try to spot out things that they're doing well still. For example, if they properly smoked a site or made a good play that just didn't end up working out, I still make sure to compliment them that the idea was definitely there and that they'll definitely get those kills next time. Trusting your team can be really hard, but doing so plays a big role in your confidence in winning the game, as well as the rest of your team's confidence in winning. I found this was most difficult at gold and plat rankings, but once I did so, I easily progressed through those ranks, and at diamond it was actually much easier to trust my teammates and improve team play to win more games and achieve the immortal ranking. Tip number 6 that I use to solo queue to Immortal is playing positions that I feel most comfortable in. This can drastically change the way that you perform in a game. If you're used to playing mid every time on split and you do well defending middle, but then you decide to play over at B or A, which you've never done before, you'll know where the best places are, how to utilize your abilities, when to push, when to stay back. You'll find yourself running in circles and the enemy team will easily overrun you. Find a position in each map that you feel good playing in and play that position every time. Now when I say this, I don't mean to play the same spot every single time in that position though. For example, going into middle on split, you may want to play mailroom and peek players that come from sewers. However, if this doesn't work out and you get picked every time from this spot, you want to have backup options. This includes being able to play vents or to play back corner of heaven or at rafters. The position you're guarding is the same, you're defending the middle area, but switching up your location so that you stay unpredictable. This is especially important when you find that the enemy team has better aim than you. A simple position change can be all it takes for me to get that extra edge and actually win the aim duel that I normally wouldn't be able to do. Tip number 7, this is one of the keys for me ranking up to Immortal in solo queue, and it is utilizing the operator whenever I could. In Valorant's current state, the operator is deadly and allows me to lock down choke points or open up sights on the attacker side. I'll be honest, my rifle aim is not that great and I was much better at using the operator to get those picks and man advantages for my team, which greatly improved my team's chances of winning the round. I highly suggest people learn to use this weapon as this is a game changer and can turn the entire tide of a match. I'm not going to go into any crazy details for this video. If you want to learn how to use the operator, make sure to check out my sniper guide video in the description down below. Tip number 8, this is also another huge factor that allowed me to rank up to Immortal in solo queue, and it is I entry fragged a lot for my team. Especially at the lower rankings, people are very scared to go in. They're afraid to take risky pushes on the defender side, and more commonly, they're afraid to be the first man in when attacking a site. I get it, as an entry fragger, you're essentially going in blind without any information on where enemies are, which makes it more difficult for you to get the frags and you're likely to get yourself killed. But you know what? I'm a team player. I don't give a damn if I go into a site and end up getting killed. As long as I get the information from my team and communicate it, along with usually being able to get a frag or two before going down, I can usually rely on my teammates to clean things up and win the rest of the round. But it starts with the entry fragging. If I don't go in, my team usually will also stay back and we end up just sitting there doing nothing and wasting time until it's too late for us to make an effective push. I'll make the call for a site take, give a strategy, and then I'll go in and start things off for my team. It's this kind of selfless play that allowed me to hit the top rankings. I'll still actually get a lot of high frags each game, but even if I don't, I know that I'm making an impact that allows my team to do the rest of the work. Now hold on, wait a minute, make sure to stick around for these last two tips as they are equally important to helping me solo queue up to Immortal. Tip number 9 is using simple strategies. In solo queue, you can try to do super methodical team play, but since everyone isn't used to playing with each other, these strategies usually don't work out. There will occasionally be that guy that tries to call a complex plan and gives a whole speech on what he wants the team to do. By the second or third sentence though, you're probably lost and have no idea what the player is intending for the team to do. Instead of trying to get that full on team play, use simple and easy callouts that your team can actually follow. The strategies that I'll usually call out is the classic rush A, rush B, play default, look for picks and openings, or working through mid, and then if we get control of mid, let's split push onto one of the sites. I'll use the rushes sparingly out of everything that I just mentioned, but they can be great ways to change up the pace and catch enemies off guard. If you keep the plan simple, you'll find your team will be able to follow it better, thus giving yourself a better chance to have a coordinated play to win your rounds. Last but not least, tip number 10 that I use to solo queue my way to Immortal is checking economy and utility. Especially at the lower ranks, many players will neglect looking at the team's economy. There will be rounds where some players will buy out and drain down the bank while others are trying to save. This results in everyone having different money where you won't be able to get those full rifle round buys, which decreases your chance of winning rounds when you're already giving yourself a disadvantage with the equipment. I'll usually call out if we need to save save, and just like that everyone will save and we allow ourselves to get a round with full armor, full rifles, and full abilities, versus if I didn't say something, miscommunication occurs and our economy is in shambles. Equally as important, many players will neglect to look at the enemy's economy. If I see the enemy's money is low, I know they'll mostly have pistols, which are most effective in close range engagements. Knowing this, I want to make sure that I play far back and get to long range battles to ensure that I have the advantage and the best chance of getting those frags without risking getting overwhelmed by multiple pistols rushing in. Knowing enemy economy can play a big role in how I want to play rounds, so I make sure to look at this at the beginning of every single round. I also make sure to look at key ultimates that the enemy team may have. The key ones in particular that I stay aware of is Brimstone's Orbital Strike, Sage's Resurrection, and Raze's Showstopper. These abilities are big. If I know a Brimstone ult is up, I want to be conscious when I'm trying to defuse a spike initially. If I eliminate a player and Sage's ultimate is up, I want to bring more of my teammates near the dead player, as it's likely that Sage and the enemy team will try to go over there to revive that player back. Lastly, Raze's Showstopper. If this is up and you see Raze nearby, I know I need to book it out of there to avoid getting killed by a very fair and balanced ability. Now, if you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for tuning in, and this is the main reason that I found better success solo queuing to rank up to Immortal. Solo queue games were actually much easier for me, and the key reason being is because when I played with teammates, the ranks were usually all over the place. I'd be Diamond 1 to 3 while my teammates were around Platinum and Gold. Because of this and the way the riot system works, the more people you queue with, the more likely you're going to play with people that are also queued together, and when the rank differential is more than 3 tiers, there's a very high chance of there being a smurf on the other team. Not many people will be queuing with others that are a large number of ranks below them unless they're smurfing. This meant that there'd actually be 2 or even 3 players on the enemy side that were better than their actual ranks, or even better than the top ranked player on the other side, so that they could play with friends, while my teammates were truly at the rank that they were in, so we would get stomped a majority of these pre-made games. Because of this, solo queuing was actually better for me and helped to even the odds of games. You'd get the occasional pre-made team that you have to face, but even then the ranks would still be pretty fair, and I was more than capable of dealing with them versus playing against a team of smurfs that are likely in low or high immortal on their main. That's all I have for this video. Make sure to leave a like if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, and comment what rank you are at right now. Also make sure to let me know if you want some more content like this. I'm thinking of making a solo queue guide for every single rank, so going through iron, bronze, silver, gold, and much more. If you think this will be helpful, let me know and I'll get on to it. I'm Dr. Zora, helping cure you from being a noob, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.